Trent Cotney and John Kenney are dedicated to helping the construction industry with legal business and safety challenges. Welcome to this week's episode of Law and Mortar.
Welcome to another episode of Law and Mortar. This is Trent Cotney with Adams and Reese. As always, I got John Kenney, CEO of Cotney Consulting. John, how are you doing?
Doing great. It's a great way to wind up the week. I'm sure everybody out there is like we are, getting ready for the long weekend coming up. Happy to be here as always.
Yeah, and it's been a busy week. Interesting, a lot of different things going on. You know, obviously the thing that's been dominating the news lately is the horrible shooting that occurred in Texas. And I think out of that, what we're starting to see is, government regulation, maybe a renewed interest in workplace violence. And recently, just a few days ago, actually just yesterday, Cal OSHA came out and said that it was going to revisit some of the standards that it had on workplace violence. So what you can see now, John, I think is they're going to put more and more of the burden, the onus on the employer to make sure that it is a safe workplace, even from things like active shooters. So interesting, and again, that's just Cal OSHA. We'll see if it ends up in the federal standards or another state standards, but definitely sort of a sign of the times. And I think a lot of it had to do with what we saw in Texas.
Yes, definitely. It's sad events. And I think sometimes as a society, other than looking at the sad event and the feelings that we all have, never want to see anything like that happen, there are repercussions that are going to trickle upstream. And that's a good example of one right there. And, we need to try to do something ahead of time rather than always put the onus back on the employer to clean this stuff up.
Yeah. And, one of the things that we actually, did this at our old company. We had, a crisis management plan, an active, shooter policy. We went through a lot of these different types of things. And the goal is that you want to sort of gameplay any crisis level issue so that you've got the SOP in place in the event that, God forbid something does happen. So one of the things I would encourage anybody that's listening to this is take the time now to get those things in place, regardless of whether, OSHA or the state equivalent decides to, promulgate a rule on it. It'll definitely come in handy, if something like that were to happen.
Absolutely.
John, you and I were talking right before we started here, but you read some really interesting stats here recently, and I want to spend some time talking about it. Obviously, the calls that I get, doesn't matter what contractor or trade it is, it's always skilled labor or the materials problem. That's it, right? I mean, that's what's dominating everything in the construction industry right now. But why don't you talk a little bit about some of the stats you saw, and I think that'll kind of expand our conversation.
Sure. Yeah, as everybody knows, you've been following and me, I'm really like to deep dive into data, and data usually tells a really good story of where we've been and where we're heading. This one happened to be a global construction industry study, includes North America, but it also tied in Asia, Europe, the whole thing. It was interesting how all of the study areas, the numbers were very similar. So it wasn't like one continent or one area had a higher than a lower. This was pretty much average across the board, and they came up with these numbers. So a couple things. Of course, the number one issue is supply chain and material shortages, and there is very little optimism that this is going to straighten out now, even well into 2023, which I can't say I disagree with at all. I think that is probably a pretty good viewpoint, the way the survey went. I mean, the way between inflation worldwide, gasoline, oil, wars, everything that's going on, pandemic still going on in areas. And even today, interesting enough, even though the pandemic, we go endemic over whatever the words are, the airlines now are using the fact that they have to cut back on flights because of the pandemic with people getting sick from COVID. So it seems to be, whether it's a buzzword or whatever it is, it's going to be here. So that was interesting. So that's like almost 80-90% of the survey ranked that as number one. I'm sure you agree with that, Trent. I'm sure you've seen that among your clients all over the place as well. It doesn't seem to be easing anywhere. Do you see anything different on that?
No, I mean, it's going to be here for the next year. I mean, at least. And if we have more, cataclysmic type events or storms or things like that, that's going to put even more pressure on it. General inflationary pressures are just killing everybody. I was on the phone with a contractor right before we got on here, and their prices had almost doubled from a year ago, and it's very hard to navigate that kind of rapid change. And I think it's affecting everybody, no matter whether it's in the US, Canada, or overseas. You see it everywhere. But what's interesting to me is that early on during COVID, there seemed to be more skilled labor available. I think that trend has now reversed. And it seems like despite the unavailability of material, the lack of skilled labor is still as big or bigger of a problem as it's always been. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah. So the other two things, and I'll hit them and we'll jump back on the other two things that stuck out in the survey, and I'll do the skilled labor part first, and then I'll jump to the other one, which I thought was interesting. But on the skilled labor, so yes, it is a continuing trend that is probably getting worse and doesn't get any better. And I don't know what the answer is, but everything that's been tried, it just continues to be a big issue. So now what they did is they kicked it back to another study. Besides just saying, "Hey, we got a labor issue, we got skilled labor problems," they also went to the insurance agency, the insurance companies around the different areas, the global ones that insure large construction firms all over the world. And when they surveyed them, they're now attributing construction defects, lawsuits, losses, and all that to the fact that not having this skilled labor and untrained labor, besides being a shortage to get the projects done, it is up to almost 33% of all their claims on on construction buildings now tie back to poor workmanship because of skilled labor. So that was kind of an interesting tie back. I mean, I think logically we know that would make sense. Skilled labor leads to poor workmanship. But we also, you putting our logical hat on, know that if the insurance companies are noticing it and its trends, it's probably going to lead to the ultimate, we're going to be raising rates all over the place to cover these losses. So that'll be interesting. But we could also possibly see maybe somebody jumping in besides just the trades trying to recruit people. Maybe other people in the industry now will start putting some money into training programs. Who knows where it'll go. The other one that was interesting is natural disasters. One is they contributed a good portion of that to some of the supply chains, which makes sense. But the other one is getting caught on construction sites during these natural disasters, fire, hurricanes, storms, wind events, thunderstorm damages. They're coming at a lot of greater frequency, as we see from looking on the weather and the news at night. That's starting to put a strain on the payouts of claims as well. So, I mean, looking at this from the business side, I kick it back over. I'm sure you've got some nice legal kickback to put on this, but you know what that's going to mean: changes in policy language, changes in contractual obligations. I'm sure all that's coming. So this was an interesting trend that I thought was good to find in this survey.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, John. Just this week, Florida had a special session that really targeted roofing contractors. That was the primary target. And obviously the insurance lobby was putting it forward, but there were a lot of key things that really came out of that. They were attacking the 25% rule. And for those of you that don't know, if you're not from Florida, if more than 25% of the roof needs to be repaired, then a roof replacement is something that you can advocate for. So they cut against that. They cut against the ability of plaintiffs' lawyers to obtain attorney's fees in these first-party type actions where they're trying to pursue assignment of benefits or things of that nature. So obviously, insurance is playing a big role in the restoration and roofing industry. So it is constantly molding and requiring those contractors to change their operations. And I think we'll continue to see that as prices go up. I mean, I don't know about you, John, but I just got my renewal for my homeowners insurance, and I think I'm going to have to get another job because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pay for it. It's crazy how much it's gone up. So I definitely think that's going to be an issue, as we kind of move forward. So, John, what I want to do now is let's talk a little bit about stuff that's on the horizon real quick before we get to your favorite part.
All right.
I know next week I'm going to be heading up to Nashville. So if you're listening to this and you're in the Nashville area, hit me up. I'm be happy to meet with you. I'm going to be speaking at the TARC Summer Conference, Tennessee Association of Roofing Contractors in Pigeon Forge. So looking forward to that. John, what do you got coming up on the horizon?
Well, I've got some webinars coming up. My traveling, which is this one, first one's not a whole lot of travel, is going to be, well, you'll be over there too. We got FRSA kicking off in July. And then pretty much from there on, I know we're both at different places and at the same places. As they say, the season is open. We'll be all over the country from coast to coast throughout the rest of this year, it looks like.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be busy. It's summer. So, all right, question time. So, John, I've got a good one here. And this actually, I picked this one because I knew we were going to be talking a little bit about skilled labor today. So just so you know, we're a little bit behind. We've got 61 questions we still need to answer.
Oh.
So well, maybe we'll double up next week. But so this question is from Evan, and Evan's question is, I can't find anybody to do work. What are the best places to look for labor for my jobs? So John, I know from, you do a lot of business consulting, a lot of operations consulting. Obviously, you got 45 years plus experience in the business. Where do you go to look for labor? I mean, where do you go?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, of course, you got to exhaust the normal sources that you go to. Labor. There are labor sub-supplying companies and that out there. You got to exhaust them. They're getting exhausted, but they're moving. And I've had some talk with a few of my clients and kind of thinking about this on a more larger picture, based in the stats and what we all know. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. So really, I'm seeing some success with contractors on local levels, going directly to the vocational schools, going directly to the high schools and grabbing them as they're coming out of school and actually training them. So you're not going to get the skilled out of that. You will have to put some time in training. But I got to be straight up with the whole industry out there. I don't think you're going to find off the shelf skilled labor anymore. It's just not going to happen. They can't keep up with it, even if there's training schools out there, which I know of. But what are you going to put out 5 or 10 out of a class when we need 150? So I really think look at that, put something in place, and train your own people and work on your culture and your company, and they'll stay with you. That's really the best advice I can give, because there is no short answer anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I would add a few things. One is I think retention is almost more important than recruiting at this point. You've got to do whatever you can to keep people that you've got happy, paid, well trained. I would say if you're, looking to do that, look into, a lot of the different ways that you can promote people within. Look at the possibility of giving your superintendents and foremen and project managers OSHA 10s, OSHA 30s. NRCA's got pro certification and NCCER for apprenticeship type work. There are other ways that you can go and potentially find, other workers. You can look at, I know Labor Central's out there. That's a great resource. Yep. Employee leasing, a lot of different ways. But the reality is you got to hustle, right? It's the contractors that are out there that are treating employees right, that are able to retain them, that are doing whatever they can to get good crews and keep them, that are winning the game right now. So no easy answer. Don't see it disappearing until technology replaces it, But right now, I think that's where we are. So
yeah, the only thing I'll add on to that, Trent, because you brought up a good point of the retention. Another study I just saw is it's not money. Okay, a lot of times we're focused on the fact you got to pay more than the next company. It's really now the workforce that's coming in, they want flexibility. So you're going to, and it's hard. I know in roofing and all construction, it's hard to have flexibility, but you're going to have someone in your company manage these schedules. So when they need time off for family, they need to go to their child's graduate, whatever it is, whatever happens, you got to be flexible. I know that's hard, and that's coming from an old baby boomer who came up the way you weren't allowed to take off for anything. But I'm telling you that we're in a new world, and you've got to be flexible and work to these items.
Yeah, and John, I know I'm like you. We grew up working, and yeah, I went to work both ways in the snow, and it's in Florida, so I'm not even sure how that happened. So, but yeah, we live in a different time now, and I think flexibility, understanding what's truly important to workers, is going to be a great way to retain them and keep them happy. John, as always, I want to thank you. We're going to wrap up this episode of Law and Mortar, but stay tuned next week for another episode. If you want to reach me, you can always get me. I'm Trent Cotney at trent.cotney@arlaw.com, or go to adamsandreese.com. John, how can they get you?
Real easy. It's Kenney at cotneyconsulting.com, or go to the web at cotneyconsulting.com, and I'll be there.
Great. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Take care.